Hello, live from London, this is BBC News. An emergency meeting of the UN Security Council hears that the situation in Gaza is becoming increasingly desperate. An abducted Israeli soldier has been reunited with her family in the first known rescue of a hostage. King Charles and Queen Camilla are starting their 4-day state visit in Kenya, where he will acknowledge painful aspects of its colonial past. And the cast of Friends pays tribute to Matthew Perry, saying they are utterly devastated by his death. Hello, I'm Lucy Gray. The head of the United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, has said that more than 420 children are being killed or injured in Gaza every day as Israel continues its bombardment of the territory. Speaking at the UN Security Council, Catherine Russell said the numbers, sourced from Gaza's Hamas-controlled health ministry, should shake council members to the core. Israel says it's targeting Hamas, which is designated as a terrorist organisation by the UK and other governments, following the attacks of October the 7th that killed 1,400 people and saw more than 200 taken hostage. Our Middle East correspondent Yolande Nell reports. Thanks very much, Anna Foster, for us there in southern Israel. And just a line coming through to us from the Reuters news agency talking about the air raid sirens which have gone off in the air of the Red Sea city of Eilat today. Israel's military saying that the alert concerned a possible hostile aircraft intrusion, and Israel radio reporting that Israel has shot down a drone over the Red Sea. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Right, some breaking news to bring you now as police in the central Japanese city are responding to reports of a shooting incident at a hospital. Let's take you live now to Tokyo and speak with our correspondent Shaima Khalil. And what can you tell us about what's happened, Shaima? The message is signed by Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc and David Schwimmer. Right, that's all from me for this half hour. Plenty more on all the stories we're covering on our website, of course. Do stay with us here on BBC News.
Now on BBC News, the latest business news from across the globe. World Business Report.
Live from London, this is BBC News. BP announces results that disappoint. The oil giant says profits of over $3 billion were made in the third quarter as it benefits from rising oil prices. Plus fishy business, the US turns to Japan to buy its seafood as its trade war with China rumbles on. And the gold rush, prices go up by around 8% since the start of the Israel-Gaza war as investors seek a safe haven. Hello, good to have you with us. I'm Sally Bundock. We're looking at the top business stories and we're starting with BP because the oil giant has just announced its latest earnings, saying it made $3.3 billion profit in the third quarter. Today's figure is way below the $8 billion profit BP made during the same quarter this time last year when energy prices spiked following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. BP also said it's extending its $1.5 billion share repurchase program, and this news is worse than some analysts were predicting. Let's get the view of Nitesh Shah, head of commodities at Wisdom Tree. Nice to see you, Nitesh. So talk us through the numbers from BP. Obviously, it was expected to be a lot lower than this time last year, but is this disappointing from your point of view? Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Hello again, you're live with BBC News. We're looking at the top business stories, and back to the United States. It started to bulk buy Japan's seafood in response to a Chinese import ban that followed the release of treated water from the Fukushima nuclear plant. It comes after G7 trade ministers requested the immediate repeal of bans on Japanese food. Over to our Asia business hub, Joao de Silva has the details. They do look very tasty, that is for sure. Let's quickly show you financial markets. Is it scary out there on financial markets? Tricking or treating? Well, at the moment, we've got a bit of both. Japan up just over 0.5%, Hong Kong down nearly 2%, and the price of oil just eking up. But if we look at Wall Street the night before, really strong close, certainly for the S&P 500, their best day for quite some time. The big event this week still to come is the Federal Reserve. It starts its 2-day rate setting meeting today. Of course, we'll get news on what its decision is on Wednesday. Bank of Japan kept its rates today on hold. That's all from me. You're up to date on the top business stories. I'll see you soon.
As extreme weather conditions intensify, wildfires have been breaking out across the globe.
These are some of the worst wildfires this area has seen for many years.
For people in the area now, there is a lot of concern about how far and how fast the flames may move.
But the wildfire risk, despite the devastation in Lahaina, is far from over.
See the headlines as they happen with breaking news alerts in the app, and get the full story with bbc.com/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.
Hello, live from London, this is BBC News. The Israeli military says it's striking Hamas targets in all parts of Gaza as the UN Security Council hears that the situation is becoming increasingly desperate. An abducted Israeli soldier has been reunited with her family in the first known rescue of a hostage. King Charles and Queen Camilla are starting their 4-day state visit in Kenya, where he'll acknowledge painful aspects of its colonial past. And the cast of Friends pays tribute to Matthew Perry, saying they're utterly devastated by his death. Hello, I'm Lucy Gray. The Israeli military says it's striking Hamas targets in all parts of the Gaza Strip, as well as Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. An IDF spokesman said it was hunting commanders of the Palestinian militant group and attacking infrastructure. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Red Crescent says the area around the Al-Quds hospital in Gaza City has been under heavy bombardment by Israeli forces. Our Middle East correspondent Yolande Nell reports. Thank you so much. Anna Foster there for us in southern Israel. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Now, police in the central Japanese city of Toda have responded to reports of a shooting at a hospital. 2 people were reportedly wounded, a doctor in his 40s and a patient in his 60s. Let's go live now to Tokyo and speak with our correspondent, Shaima Khalil. Can you tell us a bit more about what's happened, Shaima? Okay, thank you so much. Anne Soy there, our Deputy Africa Editor, joining us from Nairobi. Do stay with us here on BBC News. Bye for now. This is BBC News, the headlines. The Israeli military says it's striking Hamas targets in all parts of Gaza as the UN Security Council hears that the situation is becoming increasingly desperate. The US says it hopes around 100 trucks of aid will soon enter Gaza each day following discussions with Israel. King Charles and Queen Camilla are starting their 4-day state visit in Kenya, where he will acknowledge painful aspects of its colonial past. And the cast of Friends pays tribute to Matthew Perry, saying they are utterly devastated by his death. Now, the Israeli army spokesperson Daniel Hagari has just been holding a news conference in the past few minutes. We can hear some of it now. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. You're live with BBC News. Now, two of Boris Johnson's closest aides during the height of the pandemic, Lee Cain and Dominic Cummings, will give evidence at the COVID inquiry later today. It's after the inquiry heard yesterday that the UK's top civil servant had told colleagues at the time that the former Prime Minister could not lead at the height of the pandemic. Ellie Price has more. Rowan Bridge clearly loving his work there. Good for him. Thanks very much to Rowan for that. Just a reminder then that you can go to the BBC website for all the latest on all the stories that we're covering. Got a live page, of course, going on about what's happening in Gaza at the moment, which is constantly being updated, and there's all sorts of explainers and updates from our correspondents in the region. So do check it out. And stay here for more from Anna Foster in southern Jerusalem coming up next. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Hello there. Thank you for joining us on this extended look at world weather.